Greg Sankey got caught in a lie, and I'm going to get to the specific details on that in just a moment. But it's not just that. It's also that is at the forefront, on the front lines, if you will, of what is now being deemed a war between the Big Ten and the SEC and everybody else. And that has been on full display at SEC spring meetings, which historically have been a very quiet thing happening, not so quiet at all this time, and not so quiet at all in this major Ross Dellinger story that is out there. You can find it linked on my Twitter at JL Kurtz if you want to go read it, but you're going to get plenty of it here in the show. And I'm telling you, like, guys, go follow Ross. He's dropping stories like this like twice a week that are just must read if you want to be informed on what is going on in the college sports world right now. So I mentioned the SEC spring meetings. Ross Dellinger says SEC old-timers believe it to be the most consequential gathering in the history of the conference. Quote, it's going to get heated. So that's one SEC administrator who said it's going to get heated because they're looking at the future of the playoff format, which is obviously where a lot of the controversy comes in. They're looking at what they want the future of NCAA governance to look like. They are also having to deal with all the frustration over NIL, this Deloitte operation that is going to look over fair market value deals, the state laws that have been put in place, for example, in Tennessee, that we're trying to supersede that. The fact that now all the Power Four conferences are trying to get people to sign away their right to sue if that gets stopped. All these things, right? And all of it comes right on the precipice of hopefully the House settlement and the revenue sharing era, but we're 40 days out and we still don't have that thing approved, which is another stressor, I think, on everybody involved here, which is probably amplifying a lot of the frustration in all of this right now. So here we go. Okay, as far as the college football playoff battle, that is where most of this is coming down to. This is where most of the battle is happening right now. Dellinger says a year-long simmer of format negotiations has reached its boiling point. There exists serious pushback in the proposed format from not only the ACC and Big 12, but from Notre Dame and some of the other Group of Six conferences. Listen to this. In this street brawl, Ross Dellinger calls it a street brawl. It is 2 against at least 4 other conferences plus Notre Dame. During their meetings last week in LA, Big Ten admins solidified their support for the 4-4-2-2-1 format. SEC, Big Ten get 4, ACC, Big 12 get 2, Group of 6 gets 1. The SEC has the chance to do the same this week, and if they do, here to me was the most telling quote from the entire article. Dellinger says, and what if they do? What if they do approve that format? 4-4-2-2-1. 4 auto bids for the SEC and Big Ten. Quote, I guess we're going to war, said one Big 12 athletic director. Okay, that's a Big 12 athletic director saying, I guess we're going to war. Woof. Okay. Well, here's how all this is going now. So that's the Big 12 being like, all right, come on, guys. We dare you. We're going to war. We are ready. It is Braveheart. We're standing here ready with our spears out. Bring it on. And then Sankey responded by trying to throw out a snarky little shot today, like literally just tonight within the last hour or so. Here was the Sankey quote, first and foremost. Greg Sankey from his SEC media session at Destin, quote, I don't need lectures from others about the good of the game or coordinating press releases about the good of the game. He references the Big 12 and ACC releases in wake of seeding vote last week. Okay, well, first of all, when I mentioned Sith Lord Sankey trying to play the villain, this is certainly a good way to do that. It certainly seems like a guy who is very annoyed, feels like we've got all the power. Why do we need that? Why am I getting pushed around by you guys? Why am I having to deal with this annoyance, this gnat that keeps coming up and is not allowing me to do what it is that I want to do? There's only one problem here, ladies and gentlemen. This is all well and good, and it would be pretty typical fodder. And, honestly, as much as I hate what Sankey is saying here, there is a part of me that's like, okay, well, this does make it certainly entertaining. It provides content, but there is one big issue here. Here's the VP of communications from the Big 12, Clark Williams. Shout out to my guy, Clark. He says there was no press release from the Big 12, let alone a coordinated one with the ACC regarding straight seating. Whoops. I guess that's a little bit of a lie that Greg Sankey just got caught in there, that Clark Williams has pointed out here. And, it's funny. I'm glad that Clark said that, because initially when I saw that Sankey quote out there, I was kind of like, man, wait, what is he talking about? Like, what is he talking about? It's like, I don't remember a Big 12 release, and certainly not a joint one with the ACC, but I kind of just let it go because I was a little more focused on, all right, well, Sankey's really trying to ratchet up. Everybody is ratcheting up the temperature here. The Big 12 AD is feeling comfortable enough saying we're going to war. Ross Dellinger is saying it's a street brawl. And now Sankey is saying, hey, I don't need lectures from you guys about the good of the game. And I'm like, all right, well, everybody is just clearly ramping up the rhetoric and very frustrated with each other right now. But then, dude, if you're going to come correct. Don't come lying about press releases. Like, what is this? What is this from Sankey? And this, guys, when I tell you that the Big 12 is so much different now than it used to be, and it is thanks to, like, the spirit, basically, of what Brett Yormark does, the tone that he sets at the top. This is exactly it. Here's your VP of comms being aware of what's going on, checking Twitter and coming out and setting the narrative straight instead of being completely reactionary and being pushed over. It's setting the narrative straight. I love that. I love that so much from Clark Williams and company in the Big 12 there. Woo! Sankey, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? That's, I guess, the setting the scene for this going to war thing. But what does that actually mean, other than Greg Sankey literally being like Kim Jong-un and making up propaganda that is completely untrue? Hopefully the SEC offices are not just a bunch of, like, big cardboard cutouts that are set up that look like really nice shops that you can just push over. What does it actually mean to go to war? Like, what move does the Big 12 and or ACC and or Notre Dame or anybody else have here if the SEC and Big 10 want to do this and move forward with this format everybody hates? Because they, according to the memorandum of understanding for the next iteration of the playoffs starting in 26, they've got the power. They can do what they want as far as decision-making goes. Well, how about this? We talk about going to war. This would be going to war. Billable hours, lawsuits. This is what the article from Dellinger says. According to most who have viewed the memorandum, the agreement grants the Big Ten and SEC control over the format, but directs them to have, quote, meaningful consultation and collect inputs from the other conferences and TV partner ESPN. Have they satisfied the agreement's language to hold meaningful consultation? Some do not believe so and have sought legal counsel over the validity of that document. Okay, now that is getting very interesting. How much does everybody hate billable hours and lawsuits and all that's been happening in college football? Everybody does. We've had the ACC stuff going on where they had 4 lawsuits in a couple different states. We have the House lawsuit obviously being a thing. Everywhere you turn, there's these lawsuits over, NIL and different state laws that are coming out. Everywhere you turn, somebody is bringing a lawyer to the table. Title IX. When we're talking about Title IX and revenue sharing, 1 billion different lawsuits. Do the SEC and Big 10 want to have to deal with that? And do the Big 12, ACC, whoever it is that's seeking legal counsel, because we didn't get the actual name there of, like, what party it is that has already sought legal counsel on this, but whoever it is, do they really want to call the Big 10 and SEC's bluff that much? Because that's what it would be. I mean, you can say, hey, we're going to war. That is really going to war. And that is really, really calling the bluff of, like, all right, SEC and Big 10, how serious are you? How serious really are you about pulling away and doing your own thing? You're so sick and tired of everybody else. You're so sick and tired of dealing with this. You think you can just do this on your own. It's not going to cause you long-term damage. Fine. Go do it, because otherwise you're going to have to pay for all these lawyer fees in court, and you're going to have to just deal with the headache of being in court and wondering what's going to happen with this. That is really getting down. Like, this is when Florida State was parsing through the old commissioner. Was it Swafford? Whoever the commissioner was, they were accusing of nepotism and getting that down and dirty in the ACC lawsuit. This is the equivalent of that. Like the Big 12, ACC, whoever it is, getting really, really into the weeds on this thing to try and sue over that. I am not a lawyer. I have no idea. If you're going to ask me, like, how likely is it that that would work? I have no earthly idea. I have no law degree. I have a communications degree. That's it. I've got no law degree, so I don't know what to tell you. But what I do know is that that would really, really make Greg Sankey angry if that were to actually happen. The other thing that is very interesting about this and the battle brewing here is that we got details from Dellinger on another playoff format in consideration and what is being pushed apparently right now by the Big 12, ACC, and everybody who is not Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti. And that is a 16-team bracket. So you can write that pretty much in pen. It's going to be a 16-team bracket. And it would be a 16-team bracket with just auto bids for only the Power 4 conference champs and the best group of 6 champ. So only conference champs and then 11 at-large bids. And the article says this concept is supported by the Big 12 and the ACC, and it's one that Sankey has kept in the conversation. Well, if you're looking at that and being like, well, hey, wait a minute. Is that really what the Big 12 wants? I understand your trepidation there. I understand your hesitation because I think that's one that would guarantee you get less Big 12 teams in the playoff. You know, say this lasts for 6 years, I think you would get less Big 12 teams in the playoff than you would if you just signed on the 4-4-2-2-1 model. If you sign on the 4-4-2-2-1 model, you're getting 2 teams in every year. If you don't, you're at the mercy of getting at-large bids, and then you're fighting it out with everybody else. We saw what happened this year. BYU, if there were a 16-team playoff, should have been in. Based on blind resumes, should have been in, but they would not have been in. They didn't get legitimate enough consideration there. You'd be running into that problem, I think, more years than not. So why? Then you ask the question, why would the Big 12 support a format like that? Because they are focused on the bigger picture. They don't want to sign a piece of paper that says we are literally half the worth of the Big 10 and the SEC, which is what you would be doing if you sign on the 4-4-2-2-1 plan. They also are just thinking about the symbolism of standing with everybody else and saying, hey, we're not going to let these guys push us around and push us into something where it turns into not only kind of an invitational, but once that happens, if they get the 4-4-2-2-1, a big part of this is obviously the SEC and Big Ten the SEC wants to play a 9th conference game, and then the SEC and Big Ten want to have a scheduling agreement where they're playing each other in the non-con, so they're locking everybody else out from playing them in non-conference games. And that completely cuts everyone else out. It just further entrenches themselves in a monopoly kind of way without actually just doing their own thing. So it pushes them way further down the road of just getting everything that they want, being secluded, and having every single advantage to the point where, there's just no equity at all in this thing, while not having to completely pull away and risk antitrust lawsuits and all of that. That's what happens here, and so that's why you would stand against it. The ACC also is going to feel more comfortable about this because had it been a 16-team playoff this year, they're getting 3 in. So it's a little bit different. A little bit different for them. They can feel a little more confident in this, at least for the next 5 years, until whatever's going to happen in 2030 with their league. And then at that point, it's like, all right, Notre Dame is standing against this. The ACC is standing against this group of 6s. Are we going to be the ones to say, well, hey, it actually, we could get a handful more playoff teams probably if we just went with their plan? Are you going to stop at this point? No, you're not. I keep using that Braveheart analogy. Like if I'm standing there on the front lines and they're like, hey, man, here's a spear. What are you going to do? Are you going to turn around and walk away, or are you going to be there with the group and fight? And that's, I think, really the situation that you are in as far as this goes. So, yeah, and that's where the rest of the article goes. There's one problem with that format, the format Sankey has kept in, which is the 16 teams with 11 at-large bids and only auto bids to conference champs. It doesn't allow us to do play-in games, said one SEC school administrator. And I'm not sure we'd have the votes for a ninth conference game either. So, yeah, the play-in games part of it, too, is that they want to do away with the conference championship game and instead have it be 2v3, 4v5, whatever it would be. I think I have that wrong. 3v6, 4v5 to see what teams would get the third and fourth spots in the championship game. That's the whole system they want to set up, right? That's the whole system they want to set up. And this would thwart that. So it is legitimately a real burr in the saddle, real thorn in the side right now of Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti and company that they're getting this kind of pushback.